was posted according to state law, and we do have a quorum present this evening. We're going to go ahead and start with our convocation. No, not our convocation, our invocation. And Mr. Scartermeyer is going to do that, and then our pledge allegiance this evening is going to be done by Bay City Junior High. So if everyone will stand with us, and we'll be led by the pledge.
Bow your heads, please. Heavenly gracious Father God, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for the great weather. Thank you that it warmed up and everybody made it. God, we thank you for all of our children and the blessings that they are in our lives, and we just hope that you can be with us in our hearts today as we make decisions that affect not only them, but parents, staff, teachers across the district. God, we ask that you be with us as we go through this evening and make important decisions tonight. We thank you for school boards all across the country as we celebrate School Board Appreciation Month. And we just thank you for everybody that's here this evening and even those who couldn't make it. God, we ask all these things in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you all so much. We appreciate you. So welcome to stay. All right. Good evening. We're going to start our meeting as we do every meeting with some good news throughout the district. I know it's been a while since we've met with the freeze last week. So, does anybody have any good news from, I guess it's November all the way until now because we didn't meet in December.
I mean, there's a ton.
Yeah, there's a lot to be listed.
I'll just say I'm enjoying athletics as always. I think the coaches at the high school do a great job. My son is inspired to do better, and he's now a power lifter, and so we're into that stuff. So it's fun. And tennis just started today, I believe. They went out of town and had a tournament. She did well. So again, thank you to all the staff at the high school and across the district.
Yeah.
Kind of not necessarily a good news, more of a thank you for Charles Hawkins, our vice president, not the vice principal, but assistant principal.
Yes,
he dedicated a lot of time, and a lot of kids really loved him. A lot of teachers and parents loved him, and he will be missed. And hopefully, he has a bright, great, and enjoyable retirement. But we will definitely miss him.
Yes, agreed. I know that we have a lot of people that we're recognizing this evening, so there's some really great things happening, not only at the high school, but at the junior high. I know UIL is kind of kicking into gear at all the schools, and so looking forward to that starting and seeing where that takes our students. But I also wanted to make mention that I know that February is Black History Month, and that we have a lot of our campuses that do amazing work and amazing things around that for our students. So be on the lookout for newsletters and such of different programs happening on campuses because they really are truly amazing. And we want to be able to pay that want to be able to pay that tribute. So that is also there. And then I know a lot of things happening in the district. One Act Play is about to start, all kinds of different things kicking up. I know you both just walked in. We're in the middle of good news. If you have anything that you would like to.
Well, I'd like to say we apologize for being late. I had a little car issue.
That's all right. We're glad you made it.
Glad we're here.
Yes, glad to have you. Anything else? All right. Moving into the celebration of excellence, we have a couple of things on our agenda. Mr. Townsend, I will pass it to you. I don't know how you want to go about or to.
The first thing we're going to do is junior high has a couple of things to give y'all, and they have a video, so we're going to go ahead and play that.
Hi, I'm Lily Kirker, and I'm the student council president at Bay City Junior High. I'm thankful that the school board is letting all the electives that we have here. I've learned so much, and I hope to use these skills in the future.
Hello, my name is Allison Diggers.
rounded, and it has given me so many more opportunities in life and in school. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lillian Gardner. I'm a member of Student Council, and I'm really grateful that you put so much time and effort into the school experience for us.
Hi, I'm Evan Coates, and I'm a sixth grade representative. I'm so thankful for the school board for hiring amazing teachers that can adapt to different learning styles.
Hello, my name is Jason Chen, and I'm the Secretary of Student Council. And I would like to thank y'all for all your hard work you have done for our school.
Hi, I'm Leah. Happy School Board Appreciation Month. I'm very grateful for the athletic program in Bay City.
I'm Olivia Hawkins, and I'm parliamentarian, and I just want to thank you for your service that you've done for the school.
My name is Valentina. Happy School Board Appreciation Month. Thank you for everything you've done for our district.
Hello, my name is Madison Williams, and I'm one of the sixth grade representatives. Happy School Board Appreciation Month, and I would like to say how grateful I am for the theater department.
My name is McKinley Rocha. I'm Vice President. Thank you so much for all you do and all the hours that you spend with Bay City ISD. We're so thankful.
Hello, I'm Eleanor Vincent, and I'm the eighth grade representative for BCISD Student Council. Thank you so much for the board for all the volunteering and all the hours that you put into our district. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jake Robichaud. I'm the treasurer for Bay City Junior High Student Council. Thank you for all the work that you put in for our school. I'm thankful for the athletic program. Love you all.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. That was so sweet. Thank you. Thank you, junior high. That was sweet.
Everything that was at y'all's seats were all from all of the campuses, so we want to tell y'all thank you and thank you to the campus for helping support this month now that it is February. We appreciate it. So thank y'all, school board.
Thank y'all. Thank you so much. We appreciate all the work that you all do. So thank y'all.
Thank you to everyone on every campus.
Yes.
Put a thought and effort into that. It means a lot.
Yes. Yes, yes. All right.
And as we continue to grow, let's keep it moving. Good job.
That's right.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
And
All right.
you too, Mr. Hager. Thank you, bro.
All right, moving on to our Taffy State qualifier. Or do you just want to do them all in order? Oh, there you go. So where'd she go? I know I saw her.
I'm just hiding behind
All right,
Lorraine. Good. So thank you for sharing some of the noticings around, but including Bay City High School. We love having an opportunity to highlight the students who are state qualifiers. So we have 4 different groups that you're going to see this month. We already have a couple that are even going to be on the list for next month, so we're super excited about that. We're going to start with the Texas Association of Future Educators. Ms. Morrison is our sponsor for that, but she was unable to be here after the rescheduling of the meeting. So Ms. Lopez, our college and career liaison, is going to help me by announcing those while we present. So Ms. Morrison says she's incredibly proud of her Taffy students. These students competed in November at the Area 2 contest, and they are our state qualifiers. They will be, on February 26th, they will be at the Texas Teach Tomorrow Summit to compete in Dallas. First is Jocelyn Magana. Hers was in Lesson Planning and Delivery, Humanities. Araceli Padron, Impromptu Speaking and Public Speaking, 2 events. Abel Martinez Panyala, Children's Literature Pre-K Spanish. Leslie Cisneros, Researching Learning Challenges. Parker, she's not here, so I'm going to say her name, Katie Salazar Perez. And we also had Jasmine Wynn, who's not here. Hers was an Area 2 t-shirt design. So you want to do a group of that, or you want to do it all together?
I think, can we do it all together?
Yes.
All of them are perfect.
So our next group is going to be our debate. Coach Trevino helps lead that group, him and Ms. Hodges, and Ms. Hodges had to go home sick today, so he's going to take the lead on sharing.
So beforehand, apologies for the attire. I'm here for baseball practice. So we're going to rock and roll here, I suppose. Last semester, we had Grant and Ellie compete at UIL Regional Congress, and if you're not familiar with how Congress operates, you take the 4A schools in our region, our ESC region. They send competitors, and they all compete for 3 spots to go to state. And we took 2 out of 3 of those spots. Grant took first place, and in doing so, he beat El Campo, which is always a beautiful thing. So Grant has been a 4-year competitor. Ellie is a 3-year competitor. Ellie set a goal for this year to go to state for the first time, and she did it. And we're so proud and happy to have her doing so. And they competed in Austin in August. 4A congressional debate is the toughest in the state of Texas. Just absolutely amazed at how they did, and we can't wait to see what Ellie does next.
Our next group is choir. So Dr. Coward is going to present the choir award.
So I'm thrilled to recognize Dawson Hutchins, who has worked hard and for the 2nd year in a row made the Texas Music Educators All-State Choir. He started back this summer learning music, going to camp, went through a series of auditions where he had to compete against others in our region, and then went on to an area competition. And so he will be singing next week. We will even go to the Texas Music Educators Conference in San Antonio. That's a mouthful. And he'll get to sing with all of the students from around the state of Texas who are the top, the best of the best. So congratulations.
And then it's not on your agenda because we just had this competition and we added it, but DECA has been competing again this year, and we're so excited that in our first year comeback that we had 1 student qualify as well.
Yes, so tonight we're recognizing Robert Pavon. He advanced to state for Principles of Marketing. If you're not familiar with the way that DECA competition works, he had to complete 2 different parts to advance. He completed a 100-question exam about different marketing topics. And then the hard part, or I think that's the hard part, is he's given a scenario at competition, and he's given 15 minutes that he has to solve this problem, come up with a presentation, and then turn right around and present it within 10 minutes to a judge. So I think it's very impressive. He advanced in his first year competing. So.
All kind of squished together.
Awesome. Thank y'all.
Congratulations.
Tell them I said hello.
Great job, everyone. Thank y'all for coming. It is always such a joy to be able to see what is truly happening in our schools and what's a direct reflection of not just the high school, because these kids didn't just learn all this all in one fell swoop, but it started in our elementary and junior high campuses. So again, like always, thank y'all for what you do across the district, because it really does show. And yes, they get to shine sometimes more at the high school than at other campuses, but it's because y'all do so much work at the other campuses to help prepare them when they get to the high school for those opportunities. So thank you, thank you. All right, moving along to our audience with patrons. We do not have any, so straight into our Bay City governance piece.
I'm not even here.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So on the same note of high school recognition, college and career military readiness, DCMR is our goal that we are sharing tonight from the campuses. Just directing you to the normal graphic that was included in the data. When we are tracking student performance, we track a number of things, which includes their TSI college readiness testing, dual credit, SAT, and then of course also their certifications. When we are doing that, it starts low at the lower grade levels, and so we only have, as you'll see, approximately, we started this year with 2% of our sophomore class. That has increased now to 8% of our sophomore class. And that's by the true data. So Ms. Lopez is here to kind of add a little few things that will be not reported but manually calculated. But those are attributed to students who earned TSI testing exclusively. Then when you look at the junior class we're really excited to report, I think we reported the same thing last year, that they are now starting further along than the senior class started as well. So the senior class started in the 30s. They themselves also started in the 30s, but have increased. And so we're really excited that they're on track a little bit even ahead of last year's seniors. And then our seniors, although you're going to see that we reported at 32% as they started the year, that it's only showing 36, but that's because it's only 36 who actually took the TSI, additional 4%. What's really interesting to share is that at this time of year, we're really only tracking TSI performance because dual credit has not yet been counted, even though we feel like the semester is over from the first semester until they complete their academic year. That credit doesn't count for them. And then in addition to that, the CCMR certifications actually don't count anymore until they take their third course in the program of study. So we have a little bit of hand-calculated data. Ms. Lopez has our fancy graphic that some of you may be familiar with from being on the board in the past, and she has included some additional data that she took her personal time to calculate for us, so that we have a little bit better idea of some of the other things that are happening on campus contributing to CCMR.
Good evening. So, like Mrs. Moser mentioned, a lot of this is manual tracking for everything that's like dual credit or even like Ed Ready for this year. So, middle of the year earned, last year our seniors were at 63%. Current seniors are from a 32 to a 36, and that is just dual. And even though that's just a projection, because I actually calculated by hand in January, because we knew they had completed and passed those dual credit classes, that it's not going to show because it has to be conferred at the end of the year. Our juniors did really well. They went from 17 to 36%. That means a lot of them took the opportunity to take a dual credit class and gave us a point because they took English or a math class. Our sophomores went from 2% to 8% because some of them they didn't take an English class or math class, but they earned their 9 credit dual hours. That's another way to get the CCMR point. Either the 3-hour English dual credit class or the math, so you automatically get it if you pass, or you earn the 9 credit hours. Our freshmen stayed at 6. They started at 6, ended at 6. Because even though they might have taken a dual credit class, the only way for a freshman to earn the point is TSI. Because they have to get either the 3-hour English or math, or they have to get the 9 credit hours. We do have some action tasks for this semester. We have spring TSI sessions, which will be sent out this evening. People can start registering. We'll have also summer ones. We have SAT school day. That is for our juniors who are identified as accelerated testers. That means that they took Algebra 1 in 8th grade. That's part of our accountability, so we do offer that test to them, and we do get several CCMR points from them. Targeted TSI testing, that means if we have a student that I know passed the English, we're going to put them on that math test and see if they pass and get us a CCMR point. Or if they took the math and they're really close, we're going to try to give them some intensive intervention and put them on that test so they can earn that CCMR point. We have spring SAT dates. We are an actual SAT testing site, so our test will be in May on a Saturday. Seniors, Ed Ready, and I'll come back to that. Completing their Ed Ready. And at the end, of course, we have our IBC spring exams. So, like I said, it was manual. It was projections, it was manual tracking. I literally have a spreadsheet and I count kid by kid. I go through it every class. But Ed Ready is different. Ed Ready is, they have to take their college prep class, like their math class or their English 4.
They have to pass that class as well as finish the Ed Ready program. So I guess the projection is that currently 116 seniors have completed Ed Ready. That won't be converted until the end because we need to encourage them to finish their senior year strong and not let senioritis kick in. We need them to pass their classes. So taking that projection into consideration, right now our seniors are sitting at 81% CCMR. So that's a good start. Like, but we still have to get to that 90 something. We would prefer 100, but.
And something to share in addition to that right now is really the last year that we'll be able to utilize Ed Ready. It's not going to be an approved program in the future by TEA, so we will be looking at, which is kind of why we're pushing for the TSI, other opportunities for tutorial models as well as reevaluating some of our CCMR through the IBCs. So the CTE courses, one example, I guess, of that's a really good example. You saw tonight that there was a student here from the business department. And getting those students to be able to compete more in those college and career opportunities, but particularly the career opportunities, to earn a certification in addition to the courses will help us capture a few of those kids that we may not capture in any other way. But they'll have to go all the way through the 3 years. So if you start hearing some feedback from parents that say the counselors won't let my kid change their schedule, the reason for that really is because of CCMR. As a student picks their course this year as freshmen, and we're actually looking with the counselors at the current seniors who picked courses, changed their mind, went back and picked something else, and really their only way for them to earn the CCMR credit now is to pass TSI because they played around too much in more than one program of study. And of course, our counselors are trying to do the best about kids, keeping them interested and engaged, but really we're gonna have to kind of be hard on the expectation that you finish out with your certification in the 3rd year. What it means really is that we're gonna have to really do a little bit more maybe with Ms. Cummings at junior high as we're coordinating with some of her teachers and the exploration ideas, because there is a career exploration class at junior high, really helping them with maybe some other opportunities to see it in the real world. And we have changed the platform of the course fair at Bay City High School. So we'd love for you to join us if you're not already on the docket for that. But on February the 13th, we will be showcasing all the courses offered at Bay City High School. It's our version of a parent involvement night for the spring semester, but it's also an opportunity to see every department and all of their course offerings and some of the finished products. Especially also some of the teachers who are going to be teaching the kids what that looks like, what their expectations are, and helping kids really make the right choices. So, any questions or comments? February 13th, and I'm sorry, it starts at 11 o'clock. So we tried to make it around the lunch hour. We did a little poll to get interest to see what was the availability. Some people are off on Fridays, but not everybody is. So it will be from 11 to 1:30. The gelato truck will be there. So, yes, you had a question.
I did. With the Ed Ready going away at the end of this year and the fact that we have to have the 3 years, or the 3 courses, not years technically, 3 courses
With
to
the
get
certification.
to get the CCMR. What are we doing at the junior high to help the students to say, oh, business sounds really fun, and then they take that intro to business their freshman year, and they're like, oh, that's terrible. I want to do
So that's
cosmetology.
That's definitely something Mr. Halley and I will work with Ms. Cummings on, but right now they have a career exploration class. When they come in with us, there really is 1 year leeway. So they can come and start and sign up for intro to welding, and at the end of intro to welding, they can change their mind once. And they can move to another intro level class, but because they have to complete 3 courses after their sophomore year, they're committed. Hopefully, they stay committed after the freshman year from that communication, but I think really what we're working on, at least with our CTE teachers, is having a lot of upfront communication regarding what are some of the career paths that you can do. We added the HVAC program, which is a perfect example of really putting the students in a place where they want to be. So they were principals in construction first, and we kind of vetted and checked out to see how many kids would be interested in that. And we are now, right now, we have about 11 that it looks like want to go all the way to HVAC 2, and we have one of them who already has a job.
But a lot of that is teacher work. It really
Right.
doesn't have anything to do with me or Ms. Lopez or Mr. Halley. It truly is teacher work in the field, and so many of them bring field skills that they can share with the students about true workplace experiences. And that's why one of our goals for the CLNA, which is the Comprehensive Local Needs Assessment for our Perkins Grant, is to retain and recruit high-quality teachers that are from the field.
Right.
So, and then of course develop some relationships with some of the business partners and things like that. I think Mr. Scardmite has been on our campus and shared some things just from his experience in the workplace. We'll be doing some of that in the spring semester as well. But really, this is our first platform with the course fair to kind of get some of it. And in addition, I skipped that part, but we also do have some business partners that are going to be paired with the departments to be present to show this is a field that you're going into when you choose this department or this career path.
So does the 8th grade, if they were to take, I know there's an exploration, I'm assuming it's 8th grade. Can they start the pathway? Like if they want to, they can only do the pathway in high school?
Yes, in fact, they could potentially lose their certification opportunity if they started too soon.
Okay.
So that's why we front-loaded with the career exploration piece.
Okay.
We had a few things that were
We did,
different
and
in the
that's
past,
why,
and they were
yeah.
not successful
Yeah.
for that very reason.
Okay, now is the question. I know that, and I don't know how many periods are offered, but however that looks like. But that
Oh,
was
on the
the
note of
question.
what are we gonna do because we don't have Ed ready, we are going to be working harder to give kids the skills to get TSI.
Yeah.
If they don't really pass the TSI, we don't have a guarantee. That's really the fallback plan, is that students have the skills to pass TSI. Unfortunately, you can't test them too early. Just because I've taken algebra doesn't mean I'm gonna know enough geometry and algebra 2 to be successful on the exam. But we can test them to see where they are and where the learning gaps are. And so we do have a schedule in place for the spring. One of the post-STAR activities will be little snippets of things preparing kids for TSI math. And we will start testing Algebra 1 kids in TSI math.
What years is TSI offered during the day? Is that maybe?
TSI is offered during the day as we arrange with the teacher when they're ready. When they have
so there's
successfully
not a-
completed the curriculum. It's not a course.
Right.
But when they successfully completed segments of the curriculum, Ms. Lopez stages, this year we're starting with Algebra 1, but we've done it in the past with Algebra 2 and English 3. So that we're testing them at the right time. A lot of times, if you set kids up for failure, they don't want to retest again. So we try to put it at the right point in their high school career that they have some potential for success. And then the remediation is targeted so that when they retest, it's designed that it's targeting those skills specifically. Any other questions?
Yes, I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
Cosmetology back in the day, all you had to have was 2 years. So now we have 3, they have taken 3.
It's an hourly program that's required, so it's 1,000 clock hours that they have to receive. Yes, ma'am. And so some of it is dependent on, you know, like our school bell, we have 45-minute class periods, but they're blocked. And then it'll depend on attendance. If a student is absent, they don't get those clock hours. So the students do have a potential to be able to complete all parts of it if they have 90% attendance. And they follow through with, of course, any of the test prep materials and things that go along with that. But I do think that one of the challenges to some of programs like that is truly the attendance component.
Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
So with Ed Brady leaving, what?
So Ed Ready is the remedial program that really replaced, like, if we would have had to teach, back when I was an English teacher at Basic High School, we had to teach remedial reading and writing embedded using the TEKS as well as pairing them with the learning objectives from WCJC. And at the end of the course, the students had to take a final, and only if they passed the final would they be successful. Ed Ready is a replacement for that. It has multiple attempts, unlimited attempts, in fact. But it does have an AI catcher, so if students have tried to cheat, they may have been kicked out of that and then forced to go to TSI. So TSI is the only alternative to that.
You were saying Ed Brady will be leaving state.
It will.
State
So
drop.
TSI is the only alternative to that. Yes, sir. So really and truly, the remediation would happen through tutorials after school, on Saturdays, or even built in as part of, like we're talking about with after we've done the Algebra STAR test, we could build in some tutorials that would be targeted leading up to Algebra 2 curriculum that would help them be more successful on the TSI. TSI is a big expectation, And the way that they're gonna be doing all of the CCMR is, through the IBCs, is leveling. So there'll be certain quotas that will be where you can max out at certain levels. Like, for example, the intro welding certification, we may only be able to have, 10% of our class that earn that certification. The other students might have to earn a harder certification. And that stuff is coming new. So in addition to 3 courses that are required, there's going to be a leveling system for the types of certifications that they earn. So truly the only answer for every senior is TSI success.
So how are we preparing the students for the drop of Ed Ready into the MTSI?
So we've done a lot with the math and English curriculum alignment through the vertical alignment with the district, and some of that is funded through grants, but it's teachers really looking at the curriculum, and we have to really kind of do a top-down approach. What is taught at every grade level that leads up to where the TSI is, because TSI, again, for the math, it's going to cover a lot of Algebra 2. So they have to have done Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. But the true answer to your question is, we have to teach the foundational skills all the way up, so we're not having to reteach at the high school level the things that they should have retained at a lower grade level.
So starting at the middle school.
Elementary and early. It's as early as your first graders learning everything about the basic math and the basic language arts. And of course, with the reading and writing test, we have to teach our kids to read and not skim. That's the true answer. So many students will come in and they're like, oh, I failed the TSI again. I said, did you read it? Well, I skimmed it. That's not how you pass the TSI. And the same thing is true for STAR. So I think we get them out of their social media modes and we get them back into real full-length pieces, which our language arts team has talked about, what reading sections we choose, and that we really truly teach them on grade level. That we are actually teaching on grade level regardless of where your skill is, that we're still giving them grade level appropriate work so that they're ready for the high school assessments. Yeah. Thank y'all for your questions.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, moving into superintendent's
Oh, not-
constraints.
Okay, you guys have a copy of the superintendent constraints. I updated them. The first one is the attendance piece. Last year, we did increase 1 full percentage point to 93.5. So the constraint is not to allow the attendance rate to fall below that. First 6 weeks, we had, the first 2 months, August and September, we had 95.7%, which was the highest we've had since post-COVID. And then for October, November, December is what we are reporting on. And we got really close to one of the highest percentages since post-COVID. And I think I'm pretty darn sure we would have beat it if we did not have that flu outbreak. It was a killer. So we came in at 94.4% for our attendance. And last year, we beat that with 94.9. But we are still well ahead of that threshold of 93.5. Had put to the principals and the staff and Mr. Brooks and his staff 95.5 is what our goal was for this year. It's a very lofty goal, but shoot high, right? But part of that is this is a multi-faceted approach to this attendance piece. At the campus level, just the numerous amount of incentives, just intentional, being really intentional about when they schedule events and when kids, because you got to be careful, kids will start, they'll have to go home, parents want to take them home after an event. When you schedule those during the day, Mr. Brooks' team has been instrumental in contacting and following up, and Mr. Brooks has been filing record numbers for the county. It's been years since we've been able to get into the courts, and so he's done a really good job with that. So, and of course, we still got 90% attendance rule is still there. So all of that together, in the spring semester is the hardest time. So we'll have to continue to be real intentional with that. The out-of-school suspension, not allowing that to go above 924, which is the number of days of OSS out-of-school suspension we had last year. Right now, for the first 2 months, August and September, there were 82 out-of-school suspension days, and October, November, December, there were 147. If we look at that proportionally to first semester versus second semester, we are at 25% of what it was last year. So if we maintain that or even vary some, we'd be looking at, instead of the goal of decreasing it by 5%, we would have decreased it by 40 to 50%. The goal is not to hold students accountable, but the goal was if we're doing suspensions, that those days that they are suspended, if there are multiple days in a row, that they're absolutely necessary. If you're going to suspend to do an investigation because of infraction, and you complete that investigation within 1 day, but you suspended for 3, bring that kid back after that, and save those 2 days. And so practices like that. We don't want kids to be out of school when it's not necessary. Now, sometimes kids have to be gone that long. But what we're looking at, what is not necessary, and cutting that, and already we've seen some dividends with that. If they're in class, they're going to be more successful. And if they're in class, they're going to also increase their attendance, and they're 90% attendance. So it's super important that they're here. Then if you look at the superintendent will not tolerate physically aggressive behaviors among students. The first August and September reporting for those 2 months, we had 42 aggressive behavior infractions that were reported through the PEMS discipline system. And then for the 3-month span of October, November, and December, we had 149. Remember, this is 3 months now. We did see more, and we may see even more, because the way things were being coded were not absolutely correct. Sometimes we had, and this is just coaching and revisiting with assistant principals, and just making sure that if we are coding an infraction and it has something to do with physical aggressive behavior, that we not code it a 21. And a 21 is a general code of conduct violation that does not, and everything falls underneath that, right? But we want a descriptor of what is that violation, not just you violated the code of conduct. And so there's some, we have new administrators, and we also want to make sure that we're consistent in what we review and having those conversations. And in principal meetings, we've been doing that. They've been going back and coaching their APs. And so we may see a little bit more increase in that. But that's good, because we are actually tracking true data for true data and making sure that it's being addressed. Any questions about those 3 constraints?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, moving on to reports. Our first report is on Pierce Elementary, the realtor reports. Mr. Eric Frankson, I don't know if
That's me.
Okay.
So Mr. Frankson, come on down. Mr. Frankson is our realtor for the RFQ for Pierce. And I asked him to come and just give you an overview of what he has seen so far with the property, and just give you an overview of where we're at and what that process looks like, and any suggestions he may have at this point. There's no decisions to be made tonight. It's just him coming and talking to the board and giving us some information. Mr. Frankson, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, a couple of months ago, Mr. Townsend and staff reached out to Board Real Estate, and we toured the property, wanted to get an idea of the value and opinion of value. This is not an appraisal, it's my personal opinion of value. And so we met on the property, did walk through. I'll go over a couple of things, give you some results, and then feel free to interrupt if y'all have any questions while I'm speaking as well. I want to start just with a quick background on myself. I've done real estate here in Bay City for 12 years, broker's license for 8 years. I focus on commercial real estate and real estate investments mainly. Some recent deals I've been involved with is McCoy's, Russell Ranch, Equipment Share, Family Dollar, Take 5, and currently working in some larger industrial transactions as well too. After being on the property, our first decision we have to make in doing an opinion of value is what is the highest and best use for this property. We have 4 acres, a total of 4 acres. We have a building on the property that basically we've all have decided that it's probably needs to be torn down. The school district has gotten bids on the demolition. That's very helpful. But the highest and best use, in my opinion, would be a small residential subdivision once once the improvements are taken off the property. We've got some comparable sales of how we get to that value, and I can go over that in detail, but I'll just tell you, my opinion of value for the vacant 4 acres is going to be between $400,000 and $500,000. The school district shared with me their demolition expenses estimates, which totaled $965,000. So right now, we have a deficit of about $500,000 on the property. If you want me to go over some recent comparable sales, we can do that, but do y'all have any questions so far?
How do you sell something that's $500,000 a home?
That's the catch. Dealing with developers on previous deals, somebody's gonna have to spend some money on this property. Mr. Townsend made it perfectly clear that the BCISD is not, this is gonna be an as-is sale, and that we're probably not gonna take on any expenses doing that. So that means the developer is going to have to do that.
Similar to the junior high sale? Yeah. And so have you factored in asbestos in that?
That was part of the bid, not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure. Yeah.
And the Bay City Junior High, that was kind of one of the transactions I looked into and found out some more specific details of that. And that property just had so much more upside.
More acres.
52 acres,
Yeah, right.
as compared to 4 acres. So demolition expenses were probably about the same for Mr. Lynn, but he had a lot more property to develop, so it made sense financially. Now, I do have some ideas on who to approach that it may make sense for them to work with the ISD, work with the developer.
It'll have to be somebody that's gonna build it too, right?
Sir?
It's gonna have to be somebody that's gonna build the houses there, like a construction company or something. But nobody's gonna turn around and sell the land and make any money on it. They're gonna put something else on there.
So one of the comparable sales I used was 5 years ago, the 2-acre whole block between 4th Street and 5th Street. Where the 12 residential homes were built. That property sold in 2021 for $187,500. And so that was one of the comparable sales I used, that was 5 years ago, 2 acres, inflate that a little bit, and so that's all comparables. So in that situation, I believe that was the developer builder bought the 2 acres.
Right.
And kind of can cut out one of the middlemen of, not just developing the lots and selling them to a builder. They're saving money by developing and building themselves. And there's outfits that do that.
So I thought maybe just having Mr. Frankson come and just give us a brief overview. And then, if there are questions that the board has as you marinate on this, about the ideas you may have or anything, if you want to shoot those to me, I can get them to him, so that we can get some information. Like I said, there's not a decision point right now. I wanted you to hear from him, that value, and being upside down, and just so that we can marinate on that piece. And if any questions come to mind, we could get them to him and get some answers for you guys.
What's our expense annually? I mean, we're mowing, we got insurance.
It's just the landscape. There's no power or anything hooked up to that property, so it's just a landscape that we're keeping up with.
Insurance is the
Insurance liability, or?
Let me see if I can pull that up for you very quickly.
we can get that information for you. Yeah. It was between that and the Roberts, I think that's where the drain is the insurance piece.
Yeah. That's where the cost is.
It just gets further upside down the longer we hold it.
Yeah. And another thing to consider, I'm on the planning commission for the city of Bay City, and the city has been cracking down on vacant buildings. And I don't know what that looks like between ISD and the city, but if they hadn't been bothering you about it yet, they probably will.
So over there, there's nothing is on, no lights, no gas, no nothing.
I don't believe so.
No, ma'am.
Okay, okay, you just said comparing Pierce and Lenny Roberts, just throwing out, this is what old people do, they just throw things out and hope somebody catches it. If those two buildings, and I know how old Lenny Roberts is, and I know how old Pierce is, but since this storming and stuff, I thought, can we take those two buildings and make them warming, like warm for people that didn't have a place to go? Roberts, I would say the cafeteria. Over at Pierce, I'm not sure. But instead, you've been trying and trying and trying to find someone to purchase that land. Same thing over at Roberts. We are trying to find someone that would just take it, which would be a lemon at the end of the day. But I know that we have homeless people. We have people that not able to go any place. You know, we have EAC that looks out and that. One of those, Mr. Erickson, I know you said Pierce, but is it any portion of Pierce that maybe we can save for that purpose only?
I don't know that answer, but I do know that even if a portion is saved, something else has to be, the rest of it has to be demolished. And there's environmental concerns with that. And then also to say if something is salvageable, that still takes money to put that in there. So I don't know if there's any entities, you know, community entities, public service entities that are nonprofit that could put that money in there to do that. That was a need in the community. I don't know that answer.
Lenny's on the table too?
No, this is just Pierce. We're just talking Pierce.
Yeah, you
And
brought it up and I asked the question. Yes, it wasn't on the agenda.
Yeah.
But when you open that door, understand I
Well,
walk in.
Well, this is really just talking about him letting us know where it's listed, and then he is working with the school district to try to find out how can we do something to move the building. I know the district has pulled him in because of his expertise, like I said in the beginning, with working with commercial buildings. So it's really just trying to, and we started, I think it was, I don't remember when we had the initial conversation, months ago, that we would start looking for Pierce because Pierce was the 4 acres, and we did have the conversation that that development just a couple blocks down had been developed, and that maybe that lot, I don't know if that developer, but we don't have those relationships. You do. So that's really the conversation. It's not anything of any more than he's working to see if he can sell and what we need to do to get that property ready to sell, or if we can sell it.
So you are the realtor for the district, for the school district, or only?
Not yet. I'm a consultant.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sorry to put you on the spot,
Oh,
but
okay.
like I said, when you open that door, I won't walk in.
So Ms. Robinson, I think because you had mentioned this to me the other day, she was interested in, can we use any of our buildings as a potential warming place for when it gets cold or whatever. And I haven't had an opportunity to talk to Mr. Bujek to see, but that's something we definitely look into to see. I don't know that it would, you know, with the electricity over at Pierce has been shut down for a while, and lots of copper and wiring have been stolen from there. I don't even know if the boiler works at Pierce. And then I wasn't sure if the boiler even works over at Lenny.
When they did close the school, it was in operation, but that's been several years back now. We'd have to go through it and figure out what's going on with it, see if it is still operating.
Yeah. So I think that conversation is different than what's currently, so let's come back to the report from Eric, and then that can be a sidebar of, we can discuss that at another point. So any other questions for Mr. Frankson? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate it. Have a great evening. All right, the next item on the agenda, Key Ingram humidity issues, is just a report. Hello, sir, how are you?
Good, how are y'all this evening?
Doing well, thank you.
Just wanted to brief y'all this evening on some humidity issues that we found. We did some indoor air quality inspections throughout the district, for each ours to the district through Hunting Services. They come and set in some devices to track CO, humidity, all kind of other different things, just to make sure our indoor air quality is where it should be and that our systems are doing what they should. In that, I guess, report, we looked at Key Ingram, noticed that even through times of occupancy, high occupancy, we have very low CO numbers, which typically if you have high occupancy, your CO will go up. The system does what it does. It brings in outside fresh air to offset that CO uptick. We also noticed that the humidity in the building has been tracking pretty much exactly what is going on outside. So when we started this project, we're still in the warmer months, right before fall and winter kind of really kicked off. We were tracking 60 to 70 to 80, almost 90% humidity at times. Now with the recent cold spell, we've actually dipped and tracked what's outside, 50% humidity or less. So with that being said, we're exploring how do we fix this. We spent a lot of money with it to get the auditorium where it needs to be, revitalize that area. So now we're exploring where is this outside air coming in to increase these humidity issues. A lot of our air handlers were replaced, so back in 2019. So we're equipped to dehumidify the space. It's just we're bringing in more outside air than what we're supposed to. So I have fun working the detail that is going to try to identify those inputs of outside air and really inspect that building envelope. Here in the next couple of weeks, we're tracking the weather to see when we have some higher temperatures, higher humidity for them to come in and kind of do a little bit of a reporting and inspection on the envelope of that building.
So I know there was supposed to be, I know that at some point we had the report, James, Mark, and Priscilla, I know y'all were on the board, before we put money into this building for all of these things. Have you been able to put your hands on that report?
I have not seen it before.
James, do you recall, do you remember what I'm talking, we had a whole thing before we did any maintenance tax note.
Are you
included
talking
this-
about the report that was presented to y'all?
Yes.
The slideshow?
I don't know if it was a slideshow,
I
but
do
it
have
was
a-
talking about the mold, is the building sound, before we start dumping millions of dollars into a building.
I may have seen, I saw the presentation that was given to the board for the maintenance tax notes, but I don't remember seeing a report on those types of issues with mold and things like that.
Okay. So I would just, when we have to do what we have to do, we've put in millions of dollars into that building. But I would, I don't recall who was here, who was doing that, if it was.
And he's contracted.
We had somebody come in.
And they came in and did it. They looked at all of our buildings, and looked at everything, and he was making a 5-year plan.
Are you talking about the facilities assessment? The
Yeah.
from cooperative strategies?
Maybe.
The big one?
It was a-
That had some Lenny Roberts stuff in it.
It had all the
In
buildings.
2024,
Yeah.
cooperative
Yeah.
strategies came in and did a facilities assessment. We still have that, data. I don't remember seeing the data for Key Ingram on, mold and indoor air quality and things of that nature, but there were, like building envelope was a part of it, which is more or less of a visual inspection.
Yeah, correct.
Roofs, all kinds of that, HVAC equipment. So yes, we still do have our hands on that data from cooperative strategies.
So I think that from my point of view in this, the frustration, it's the same thing with this building. How long has this building been leaking?
Right.
We put things off, we put things off, we put a Band-Aid, we put a Band-Aid, we put things off, we put a Band-Aid. We have to stop operating in that manner. So whether that means we need to figure out what our projects are and line them out and say, this is our top, like, we have to do this, and that's where our money goes, whatever that looks like, but the Band-Aids are killing us. And so we have to solve the problem and not just put a Band-Aid on it. And so I think that's the frustration in this whole thing for me is we had this conversation and y'all weren't here, but I feel like we do this every time. We make big decisions and we spend a lot of money and we're told one thing and then come to find out 5-6 years later that we weren't told everything and we were uneducated in the full scope of what it looks like, and we dumped all this money and now we're having to go back. So my request would be anything that is going forward and when we're spending money and big things, like let's as a district prioritize and say to the board, here's your 72,000 things that we have to do, and here's what we have to do to get back, so we are not just continually putting a Band-Aid on top of a Band-Aid, because we are never going to get out of the cycle no matter what we do if we don't stop putting Band-Aids and we just solve the problem.
And so when we set our board and superintendent goals, that was one of them, that strategic plan and 5-year financial forecast, and then from the assessment to prioritize what needs to be done with the buildings. And so Mr. Ruzek is in that process.
I think next month
for
we'll
that
have a
very
report on.
reason.
Yeah,
For that
we
very
have
reason.
got to stop with that.
I think next month we have a report on facilities to kind of start addressing those topics,
Okay.
start laying out that prioritization.
Okay.
So we haven't established a root cause at the KU.
That's what they're looking at.
That's what they're
That's
trying to
what
figure out.
We have a feeling, but we don't know exactly what the root cause is. That building was, I think, built in 1955.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been a place that held humidity, the floor is slippery.
Right.
It's been there for,
Which is why we started asking the questions when we started years ago in 2022, when we talked about the maintenance tax note of, do we dump more money into Key Ingram, or do we restore it, or do we tear it down and use the high school? What do we do? And so we had a study done to know, is there mold? Is there all of these things? If we're putting money into it, is it a good, wise decision for our resources? So that's where I'm like, the picture has to be fully drawn for us
Very
to.
first time, they were like, oh, we just need to upgrade the equipment and the seats and stuff, and then it'll be
That
a
was
great,
during the
great
bond.
facility, yeah. And
Oh,
then
right.
we did all that, and then they came back and they said, oh, well, they did all this, but they didn't fix the air conditioning, and the air conditioning can't handle us, we just need to do this, and then it's great. And then now we fixed the air conditioning, and we fixed the inside, and then they're like, oh, the building itself, like,
well, are those the same guys we're using now?
Yeah, well, it's hot, everything changes because we have turnover and everything's different. But I think when a problem's identified, like you said, we need to figure out the problem identified. Okay, here's the problem, here's the list of all the problems, and here are the priorities of all the problems, and we just have to attack and pray and hope that the ones at the bottom of the list can hold out so we can get to that point and have the funds to be able to do it. Because we're spending, in the perfect example, I was at the junior high track the other day. That is a disaster, and we spent how much money putting a Band-Aid on that track instead of either redoing it or getting rid of it. We put a Band-Aid in.
well, it's supposed to last like 10 years.
The junior high
It's
track.
like 2 years.
It's terrible. So that's the type of stuff that we have to
That's
stop
what I'm,
doing.
that's what I'm building with the help of Mr. Talbot, Farah, and all the principals and all the department heads, going through, finding out what those priorities are for our entire facility as a district, and building that report to be able to bring to y'all those issues on a more regular and common basis.
Perfect.
That's Ingram State Auditorium. I mean, at the time, like Jill said, if we put a Band-Aid on it, and you really cannot put it on there. But I remember having a whole audience of people that want to keep it because it's old, it's the put a landmark up there and tear it down and let's start anew. I mean, it's there. You can't erase memories. You really can't. When I go by junior high, it's hard for me to forget what I had to do. I mean, so my thing is, whatever decision, after y'all do an assessment, I hope that we are not pouring more money into a place that you know that will not, that we're gonna come back again, and we're gonna come back again. You know, old folks get tired too. I mean, so, when you do that report, I would like to see it. I'd like to see it.
And the idea is that you know, that Mr. Bujek and the Hunt team, they keep looking into it, and until they find out what the cause is for that humidity and why the outside air is coming in, and then as much information and recommendations, the board has to make that decision. But we're gonna give you as much information as we can, so you can decide what should be done or not.
So just to give you a little insight on the building envelope and how the air handlers work, there's an outside air dampener that opens and brings in fresh air whenever the parameters call for it. I think we have 7 air handlers in that building, and of the 7, 5 of them have outside air dampeners completely boarded off. So we're not pulling any outside air through the air handlers, through the logic or the PLCs or anything like that for the programming of the building. That outside air is pushing itself in. And then whenever the humidity gets, pushed out on the cold front, it's sucking that humidity back out of the building.
Through the envelope or there?
Through the envelope.
And safety issues? If
No,
someone,
no really safety issues, just because of, like I said, whenever we have high occupancy in the auditorium for shows and things like that, the CO levels stay at a very, very minimal ppm rate, and that's pretty uncommon whenever you have large crowds. That CO does spike.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Cost savings and revenue generation reports.
Ms. Jernigan?
Hello.
Hi guys, how are y'all?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. Just really quickly, I did ask McGriff for the insurance cost of that building. He said give him 15 minutes and he'll let us know how much that costs. So
Great.
We'll get you an answer to that here shortly. Okay, so the cost savings, you have that in your board book. We told you we would bring this to you monthly so you could see exactly where we are saving currently right now. As of January 9th, we're at $1.18 million in savings. To date, though, just kind of giving you a core, for like what's going to happen next month, we're at 1.291. So we continue to constantly find ways to cut back, be that through attrition, position attrition, high cost bed expenditure deletions for residential students, software contract cancellations. You can see all of those things listed through there. If you have any questions, let me know. But we were tasked with finding $2 million. We're on our way to that. $2 million is going to be difficult, but we sure are trying. We really are trying. So.
All right, any questions?
Looks like a lot of this is position attrition.
Correct, yes, sir.
So are those positions that are gonna come back, and then that number is gonna go back down?
Some of those won't. Currently, a lot of that are actually savings within the budget itself, within position attrition, things that we haven't, that were over budgeted in the actual budget that we're not going to be hiring for. So it's a savings within the budget itself.
One of the other things that I wanted to point out is that because the board approved those stipends for those high needs areas where we were paying exorbitant amounts for the contracted services, that has allowed for us to begin to replace some of them 5 positions, 5 contracted positions. And so the principals and Mr. Halley and Ms. Guyton have done a phenomenal job of really working that. Remember, you're paying double what you would. And so because of that, we went up $5,000 on the stipend, but we're saving, $50,000, $60,000. So that has really come down to a lot of the savings too. We're going to continue that effort because we know that that's where that bleed really is when we talk about personnel. So I just want to point that out. Everybody's done a really, really good job with that. And it's meant sacrificing in the interim with some of those positions. So they're stretched pretty thin.
Quick question. Can we get a report card on what's going on with the custodial staff that we contracted out?
That's our next meeting.
For
Just to have an update for AHI,
That would be
how it's going.
Yeah.
Could we, I'll make a note to add that to our next.
Yeah, just to see where we are with that.
Thanks.
The next one's me as well, preliminary property value study. Okay, so in kind of the report to the board on this one, I will let you know that the preliminary property value study that we got, the values that were actually reported to us were incorrect. So what you have in front of you in regards to that property value study, those numbers that are showing through there are basically, they're junk, really and truly they are. But we'll take this time instead to kind of tell you exactly what we did to go ahead and get those corrected, so you know that those have been corrected. So what they did is they actually left out our pre-13 agreements off of the worksheet, and so that affects our T values, a lot of values that are used in the summary of finance to calculate out how much money we're getting from property values for our school district. With that, we got those values in on December 15th. We quickly noticed that those were incorrect. And so what we did is we reached out to the Central Appraisal District. We now have a new chief appraiser. If you're not aware of that, her name is Catherine McKee. We reached out to Mo Casey, who helps us with a lot of our 313 agreements through there. We also work with the Comptroller's Office to go ahead and to get those numbers corrected. They go ahead and submit forms on our behalf saying that there's an incorrect numbers being reported. We need to go ahead and correct those. There's a very limited time for that turnaround. We had to have these contested by January 6th or January 7th. So it's a less than a month basically to go ahead and make sure these numbers are contested and to make sure that we get the right numbers. We were able to get that done in time and to get that processed through the Comptroller's Office. We were in contact with everybody quite regularly. The Comptroller actually gave us a call to kind of discuss some of this stuff as well. So all the data has been corrected and corroborated, and actually on Friday we just received our new property value study, so everything is correct. So we'll be able to get you new numbers shortly, because this is something that you normally see, and so I wanted to make sure that you got this with the explanation that the numbers were incorrect and they were reported incorrectly.
So with the corrections, is it better for us or worse for us?
With the corrections, it's kind of give or take, because we actually get paid for ADA, so you're actually paid per student for the seats. So it's just a matter of where that funding comes from. So in terms of our property values, it kind of evens itself out. I don't know how else to really describe that besides it's an ADA base and it's just kind of where that money comes from. So it doesn't really help, it doesn't really hurt, it just tells you where the money comes from.
But one of the important things about that being as accurate as possible is that the state will do their own assessment of what they think our property value should be. If the county CAD does not get that according to what the state thinks it is, and then they end up taking the difference away from the district. And so remember, we got that cup, this is how much the district is gonna get. Well, and so the state normally makes up the rest of that cup that we don't locally fill. So what they'll say is if those values are off, then they will not fill the rest of that cup. And that's something that's very little known in some districts that happens to. I mean, it's $2, $3, $4 million to small districts, and that's a huge hit. So getting them correct is super important.
And you'll normally get a settle up in that case, so that settle up doesn't come until the next fiscal year, basically, and it will hurt your finances as far as cash flow and everything. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
No, thank you for being on top of that. That's huge. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next one on there, the bond election briefing, Jake Lawrence, I just wanted to let you know that Jake will actually be here in March. He had some previous engagements and everything.
Okay.
And with that discussion, we knew that wasn't gonna go that direction, but he'd like to come and introduce himself to you in March, so he'll be back in March. So we're gonna see.
Okay. Perfect.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right. So E is gonna be tabled until March. F, GKD regulation, facilities rental.
So last time we talked about facility rental, the board had asked for me to do a little field research, and so I was able to, me and Mr. Bujek and Ms. Jernigan were able to meet with the city, and really what we were trying to find out is, what youth organizations is the city not able to provide a space for? And so from that meeting, what we were able to determine is that the only two youth organizations that the city's not able to have space for right now is the Little Dribblers basketball, and then it's Little League, but the senior portion of the Little League. I think it's 13 and up, or 13. Yeah, 13 and up. I think to 16. they require a larger field. The Joe Davis field, is that correct? That one is not playable or practicable on. And so when we talked to the city, we asked, are you, planning to bring that up to speed or anything? They said for sure they would be able to do it for the season, obviously, because the season is starting. They're already starting to practice. And that they were going to wait to invest any money in that field until they were able to speak to council to determine whether or not there was going to be any interest in a long-range plan for a sports complex. And then if that is, then it wouldn't make sense to put money into Joe Davis. So really, Joe Davis is not, I don't see any improvements coming anytime soon for that. So those are the two. So now that we know what the need is, what we did was the other thing is we talked about the whole conversation began with two things. Number one, in the regulation, remember it's not a policy, it's a regulation. And in the regulation, it had specifically said that it had to be youth organizations with Bay City ISD students in it, right? One of the challenges is that there's many youth organizations that are Bay City that may have somebody who's not in Bay City ISD, and putting that burden on the district to be able to determine what that is with 100% certainty is very, very hard. And so you end up then with inequities of who you allow to use the facility and not. And so the other thing that we talked about is the district is incurring costs for the facilities to be used. And whether it's wear and tear, or whether it's electricity, or things like that. And so the board had asked, what can we do to still not take a loss, but still be able to provide these opportunities for the youth organizations. And so what we did is we reworded the regulation so that it said Bay City youth organizations, right? So it's a Bay City-based youth organization. If there's somebody from out of town that's in it, it's okay. We're not going to go to that. We're not getting the weeds on that, okay? And then the other piece is that we tiered what they would have to pay for the facility so that we do not take such a huge loss, right? And so we separated the groups. So there's one non-paying group, period, and that is the students of Bay City ISD for school-sponsored events, whether it's FFA, band, football, whatever it is. Obviously, they don't get charged for using our facilities. Then we go to paying groups. The first paying group would be the Bay City youth organizations. And what we said was they would get a 75% discount on what the facility cost is. So basically, they would pay 25% of whatever the facility charge is. They still have to pay for personnel costs, whether it's security or whether it's custodial, they still have to pay that. But they would only have to pay 25% of what the fee is. Then you go to the next paying group, and that is non-for-profit organizations that are not youth-based, and they would pay 50%. They would get a 50% discount. And then the third paying group would be for-profit, and they pay 100%. And so that's what you have in the regulation is basically the gist of it is we're not getting in the weeds on basically youth organizations, their makeup of students, and that we would only charge 25% for the youth organizations, 50% for non-for-profit, and 100% for for-profit.
Are there any questions? So this is just a report, we will vote on it during items of discussion.
I just want to ask them, the two entities you said that are not involved over here, not using our facilities, the no dribblers and the 13.
Well, they need our facilities, and city doesn't have any place for them.
Okay.
So we would.
Those are the two that are using.
That do need a place, so the city does not provide, doesn't have a place for little dribblers or for the older kids in the Bay City Little League. So those will the two that will be using facilities, but they'll be. And
these organizations, they'll be using the facilities, say, during daylight, where we won't have to burn night lights. Is that?
So.
I mean, if we're talking about, using of.
Not necessarily, and that's why we have to, they need to pay
They
something.
pay some.
To help offset some of those costs. Not only that, but then the wear and tear on the facilities. You know, because every time it gets used, the lifespan goes down a little bit, you know? So that's what that 25% is for. So they would pay 25% of what that normal charge would be to help offset those costs. Yes, sir.
All right, any other questions? All right, moving on to item G, CNB Transportation Management of District Vehicles. Hello, sir.
Good evening again. Just to brief y'all on the CNB that is later in the agenda as well. The current CNB requires school board approval to use our school buses for non-student transportation. As you are all aware of LCRA and YMCA in previous years, we've come to you to allow non-student transportation of these buses for their student trips or youth trips for their summer programs. This would just be a shift in our local policy to more align, to directly align with those instances. That way we don't have to come to the board every time Mr. Townsend or a designee can approve that non-school use of that school bus.
One of the other things that's really important to me is that area school districts that may be in trouble or need help. You know, I would not be able to authorize for Mr. Bujek to send a bus to help them or anything like that. It would have to be something that would take board action. This would allow me the opportunity to do that, to help in a pinch. So that's another big piece to it as well.
And it'll be obviously approved on a case-by-case basis. It's not just gonna be anybody who can come in our school buses. It'll be, you know, youth in mind first, obviously would help them in a pinch, counts, all that sort of stuff. It won't be just any willy-nilly person who come in a school bus.
Are there any questions about that? And like I said, that is also under items of business. All right, thank you, sir, appreciate it.
Before we go on to items of
Yes,
business,
sir.
everybody, I wanted to apologize. I'm going to do a better job of managing consent agenda, because I think it was brought to my attention that we could probably put some of this in consent agenda. So we're going to do better.
Items of business, the audit reports.
We actually heard from our auditor today that, the audit is not yet available. He needs a little
Okay.
bit more time.
Okay.
So he asked us to go ahead and push this to the February board meeting.
Okay, so that will be tabled, and then
A, B, C.
A, B, C.
Then February board.
Yeah, A, B, and C will all be tabled to February. Let me make a note of that. I'll forget. Okay, perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, item D, discuss and consider approval of the coinciding resolution reflecting school board intent to adopt a policy as provided by Senate Bill 11, Texas Education Code 25.0823. Mr. Townsend.
So this is the resolution that I briefed the board on. And so the bill basically states that the board has to do a vote on whether to adopt the resolution to adopt a policy or not adopt a policy.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution not to adopt the policy pursuant to Senate Bill 11.
All right, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, are there any questions? All right, hearing none, we are going to go down the row to vote. So I will call on each member to yes, no. Robichaud.
Yes.
Mr. Mark.
Yes.
Mr. Scarman.
Yes.
Mrs. Westbrook. Yes. Yes. Priscilla.
No.
Yeah, I was good.
No, I'm just joking.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, and Mr.
Yes.
All right, there is 6 yeses and 0 no's, so that passes. Thank you. All right, moving on. Item E, discuss and consider approval of standing purchase orders for the following commodities. We're gonna go kind of one by one here, or do you want to?
We can actually hit them all together. I'm asking Brent if he would come down
Okay.
and help us with this one as well. So the board requires basically approval for any aggregate purchase over $50,000. So with a lot of Mr. Bujek's things, for example, if you work on an AC unit, it may cost potentially $30,000, and the next time through, it could potentially cost another $30,000. That breaks that $50,000 aggregate right there. So what normally happens in this case is a standing purchase order or something like a job order contract like we're proposing right now. So this will actually allow Mr. Bujek to work within the purchasing parameters that we've been provided and within his approved budget to seek repairs that are usually emergent for high-cost items. So for example, the chillers, the AC units, the boilers, generic maintenance. I know the amounts in here look to be a little bit large, but please understand that he will not be able to overextend this budget. This just gives him a little bit more leeway depending upon what exactly happens within there. So it gives him an amount up to, but he is not allowed to overextend that actual budget without coming to you to acknowledge that or for approval. So the auditor, I had asked him like what was which way he would prefer us to go ahead to do this to stay compliant, and he agreed that this was the best course of action to ensure that compliance. So with this, we are asking for, these are for different commodities. You'll notice it is sometimes to the same person, like for example Hunton, but one of them is for preventative maintenance. That's considered a commodity. Chillers would be another commodity. Boilers would be another commodity. So this allows Mr. Lujek to work within his budget to do that without, for example, something breaking and then he can't replace it without coming to you for approval quickly.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
This is stuff that was already budgeted.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
It's not new
But it's
stuff.
just over the 50
Yeah.
mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I thought. That's one question.
Okay, is there a motion to be made?
Make a motion to approve the standing purchase orders for the list of commodities.
All right, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any questions, conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving along. Item F, discuss and consider budget amendment number 2.
So the budget amendment in your board book will basically move $21,000 from the instructional function over to the curriculum and instructional function. It is a net zero. There's no increase to the budget. This just allows us to better provide for that cardonic software expense. It should technically be over in the curriculum and instruction budget. That one is a master schedule builder, if you didn't know exactly what cardonics was. So.
All right, any questions? Is there a motion to be made?
I'll make a motion to approve item 9F, budget amendment number 2 is presented.
All right, is there a second to the motion? All right, any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Consider an approval of GKD regulation. Is there a motion to be made?
I'll make a motion to approve GKD locals presented.
All right, is there a second to the motion? All right, we have a first and a second. Any questions, conversation? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Item H, consider and approve CMB local policy update. Is there a motion to be made?
Make a motion to approve the CMB proposal, the update provision.
All right, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Item I, discuss and consider approval of the 2026-2027 Bay City ISD district calendar.
Mr. Halley?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So I'm giving each one of you, this is a copy of the calendars, and we should already have it inside workbooks as well. I went ahead and provided both copies, just so you can see them both, and then we'll talk about which one this is at by the staff and any question that you want. So every year we introduce a calendar for the district, and the calendar for any district should be instruction driven, which is exactly what this was designed for. It's able to give a balance between professional development days, or work days for staff, and appropriate amount of holidays, but still capturing the amount of instructional days that are required. As we talked about before, we had a board that was comprised of most of the staff. It was all voluntary. Right here in this very room, as a matter of fact, that we had some members in here that were on that board as well, or that committee to go ahead and decide what days were appropriate. We started with 6 calendars, we narrowed it down to 2, all voted from the staff and came back here from the committee. And then once we had outlined the necessary days that were required for us to keep some of our grants, so for example, some of our grants that we get require us to meet a certain number of instructional days. If we fall below that, then we lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. Right? So it's very important that we stay above that number. And so that's helpful today. So, so certainly we had these 2 calendars, we put them together, There's some questions in there in the committee that were talking about bank days and instructional days. And so when you look at that, sometimes you can look at it off the cusp and say, hey, you know, I'm looking at the calendar, I got 4 extra days that we can just give off. Well, there's a couple of reasons why we can't do that. One is the contracts in which we have for our staff for the amount of days when it's based on pay, right? So we do 10-month contracts for teachers, but their daily rate is based on specific days. So if we lower those days, they run a risk of lowering their compensation as well, which we need to take. The other part of that is that we use this in I'll say the old days, I don't mean to make it that way. There used to be called bad weather days, so you can see them on there. And if you have a bad weather day, the intent of that is you've built in enough time for a seat in the classroom so you don't have to continue your school year. And so you can sacrifice that if you have to call like last Monday. So that's what those instructional days are for. And when you do a waiver, it's not necessarily for the minutes, but it's for the funding piece of it. So you can't waive the minutes on that part. You have to still continue to do that. You just wait until the funding. When we do a waiver, it's based on your average for your funding. So in our case, we would recoup that money on Monday since we weren't here. So that question came up in the committee and then the academics commission. So having the ability to explain why really helps out quite a bit. So we have the two. We sent these out. Had a little technical difficulty when I sent them out in Google form. We got about twice. And so we got it worked out. And I touched the button. Sorry. So the calendar A was overwhelmingly picked by about 84% of staff. And so 84 of them said, hey, like calendar A, that's what we want to go with it. They're very similar. The only really difference here between this is the start and dates of school. The concern that some people had easily mitigated by the time the summer school starts when we had graduation at the same time in May. So we're able to negotiate that based on how we do summer school and make it.
All right, are there any questions? All right, is there a motion?
The STAR testing, did it move? Was
STAR
that
testing,
before?
it's pretty much going to be, it kind of rotates throughout the year depending on when Easter is.
Yeah.
So in this instance here, Easter is very early.
In the past couple of years we had, I thought it was STAR testing the week of rodeo. There was something.
It's benchmark.
And you know, when the committee, we took into account a lot of different factors. Community tradition, of course, the rodeo is a big deal. And I was all about it. I like rodeo. I was back last year. So, but point being is these are things we try to encompass with the community aspect as well. When we look at some of these certain days, because we could float that day in March anywhere. But we chose it there for a specific reason, just so you can have that.
Are we still planning on having benchmarks on those Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays?
So the benchmark that's once the calendar's approved, then I can set those dates. But I can't set those dates until the board is.
Oh, okay, all right.
The dates that can change are in April. Those are state mandated testings.
Okay.
I do have one question. The ADA percentage, I know it's been mentioned in the past that our ADA dips in December because we have students that leave. And I asked this question, but I think it's a question that needs to be told to the rest of the board. Are we looking at our ADA numbers when we're talking about a calendar and days we have off and days that we have low ADA? Are we giving those days off? We're trying to figure out like how do we compensate those days so we're not losing that money for ABC. Same thing with giving off that Thursday. We're trying to be sensitive because we know a lot of kids show that week. So let's give off one more day so we're not losing.
That's a very good question. That did come up. As a matter of fact, in one of these drafts, the Friday before November was slated as a half a day that came up. And the reason why we removed that is a couple of reasons. One, the amount of minutes was a little too close to comfort, but also exactly what you just described. When you do that, a lot of your kids don't show up. And so what we would do is we work with the principals on our campuses, and they did a fantastic job. They had a lot of holiday celebrations and award ceremonies that Friday before Christmas. And so everybody was showing up and staying there for a certain amount of time so they could be a part and participant in this. And as a result, we didn't lose that much in that funding in that case. So we try to get more creative with around those times, how can we make these things happen? So when we board, if you approve the calendar, we look at March, for example, well, I mean, we could do a benchmark, but that's really not going to gravitate into school, right? But if we have a celebration where you're getting recognized, well, by God, you know, mom, dad are coming and we're gonna stay to a certain period of time when they're this big. And then if they choose to take them, then, you know, that's their choice. We encourage them to stay, of course, but we need to never pass 10 o'clock. And there's a reason for that.
What about those students that leave, because I know we have a good number of students that leave between that Christmas and.
For weeks at a time?
For weeks at a time.
And go home? And visit other people? Well,
Yeah.
we have a couple of options there. Usually what we do is we work with the families, we encourage them to stay in school and express their reasons why. Our community liaison team does that, we talk about it quite frequently, and say, hey, you know, you can't take off for the month of December. You got to be here, because there's a reason that you need to be here. Education's important, ADA is important, you're gonna fall so far behind, there's lots of variances why you need to be here. If we have a student that's gonna exhaust that time, we talk to the families and come up with a plan of action and how we can mitigate some of those circumstances. Sometimes the families choose to withdraw for that period of time, so it doesn't hurt us ADA negatively, and then they re-enroll at the first of the year as well. This allows a student to, you know, not be punished or be sent to court for the family because they missed 22 days of school. It's not something we come out and say, hey, let's do this. That's our last resort.
Right.
We want to keep them in there, but at the same time, we want to work with our families.
The half days, when you have a half day,
Yes, ma'am?
what is the attendance rate? Do kids not show up on that day?
Well, I will say that when you look at a half day overall, and I don't have those figures right in front of me, but in 20 years that I've been doing this, when you have half day, obviously your attendance is going to be a little lighter. But I think in our smaller community, in our smaller district in which we are, the options for us to communicate to parents the importance of us staying within that half day, but really the credit goes to the principals on campus. They deliberately plan things to keep their families engaged on those half days. So I will say that in BCISD, that our half day attendance is probably better than most districts.
But historically, when there was no plan in place, it has been as low as 87% on that day. So huge losses. But so you gotta be real careful about where you put those half days and that you have something planned that's gonna keep them there, or you're gonna take a huge loss.
That's my question.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, this year, have you seen with the half days, your attendance dropping? No?
Not in astronomical numbers. I mean, our averages are well over the 90% threshold for this. And again, community liaisons, principals, it's a group effort here. But you're not going to get almost 95% if you have a huge drop in 2 days.
No matter when you put a day that they get off, whatever day that is, you're gonna have lower attendance. But it has not been as low because of the intentionality. Even if you gave them a full day and they're getting out for Christmas, you'd have low attendance. If you, Thanksgiving, it doesn't matter when you give Thanksgiving off, they're gonna take it sooner. You know, it's just one of those games, but having that intentional plan in place has made a huge difference.
Just to share strategically, the only 2 half days that we have are at the end of semesters. And it's designed, at least at the secondary level, for them to be taking exams and then teachers to score those exams. So they have to show up during ADA time to finish their exams, and then the remainder of the day, the staff is still on contract, and so they finish the exams before we close out the semester. In the past, when we had other half days that were tied to holidays, the attendance was terrible. So.
And in this calendar, of course, is understood for both semester days.
And I will say, when I first joined the board, I felt like we had a half day every Friday.
We had a lot of half days on the
It used to be intentional with planning time that there were half days.
Yeah, it was good with that.
There was a lot of half days, and our ADA was really terrible.
What you're going to run into is a 4-day week at that point. It's
Yeah.
not financially feasible.
Yeah.
I mean, I only really see one that's
It's just
on the
the
calendar, is the Christmas one.
Yeah, there's a Christmas and then the last day of
The last day of
school.
school.
Do the last day of school.
Yeah, but you gotta go to the last day of
Yeah.
school. That way you get out the last day of school.
We have field days and semester
Right.
exams,
Must be
so
the
there's
last.
lots of things that keep them there.
Yeah. All right, any other questions? Pardon?
Have we cut, I'm sorry, have we cut the number of days for staff development?
The number of days of staff development,
Mm-hmm.
compared to this year, 1. another workday for the teachers versus professional development. We have 5 days in the very beginning. I went through the Teacher Academy a little bit before that as well. And then we have strategically put the PD days in the second semester when it was most needed by the staff based on their opinions and what they were desiring. The idea here was they wanted a little bit more time for work. And we can certainly deliver professional development on Saturdays if we so desire. I know myself included will do professional development for teachers in the summertime to help them catch up some of those hours if they so desire. Myself and the instructional coaches will do that during the summer, and then of course we have this plan here. And then our November one, which is usually our October symposium, will be November instead of Friday. It's going to be Monday. We did that for a lot of reasons. For all schools, it was just better for a lot of extracurricular activities.
Any other questions?
Yeah, did we do away with President's Day as a federal holiday?
I didn't know President's Day would be there.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time since we've had that.
I think it was only ever a professional development day years ago.
My kids can go to school, fine.
Any other questions? All right, is there a motion to be made?
I'll make a motion to approve calendar A.
All right, is there a second to the motion? We have a first and a second. Any further conversation? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, sir. Item J, discuss and consider the library book order review from Senate Bill 13.
Senate Bill 13 is a new law requirement that requires all school boards to have all library book orders 30 days open to the public prior to approval. We did that back in November. We did it in December. We would have done it in January, but here we are. So whenever the board approves, then we can move forward with the order. And the vendors have been gracious enough to still continue to get us a discount. So.
All right, perfect. Are there any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to be made?
Make a motion to approve the library book order review from Senate Bill 13.
All right, is there a second to the motion? All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Item K, approval of order of annual trustee election. Is there a motion to be made?
I make a motion to approve the order of the annual trustee election.
All right, is there a second to the motion? All right, so we have a first and a second. Any questions, conversation? Priscilla? Any questions, conversation? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Item L, consider and possible approval of the resolution of the board to establish non-business days for Public Information Act for the 2026 calendar year. Is there a motion to be made?
Make a motion to approve the resolution of the board to establish non-business days for Public Information Act for the 2026 calendar year.
All right, is there a second to the motion? All right, any questions, conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Consent agenda, is there anything on the consent agenda that anybody would like removed? Hearing none, is there a motion to be made?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented for vote.
All right, there's a motion on the table, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, any further questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, we will move into executive session. Under personnel matters, if necessary, may be taken into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074 to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, resignation, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, including contract recommendations for campus and district level administrators and teachers. And item 2, superintendent evaluation. This item will be discussed in closed session in accordance with Texas Government Code 551.074. We will move into closed session at 7:30. Convene into open session at 8:57. First item is discuss and consider approval of hiring contractual personnel. Is there a motion to be made?
Make a motion to approve personnel as presented in the board book.
All right, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a second. Any questions, concerns, conversation? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Last item of business, adjournment. Is there a motion to be made?
I'm making a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion been made to adjourn. Is there a second to the motion? All right, any questions? We have a meeting next Monday.
And the next Monday.
And the next Monday. It's gonna be great. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes at 8:57. We will adjourn this meeting. Hey, everybody needs to sign a paper real quick from Kelly. It needs everybody's signatures on it. Oh, quick question, guys, for March.